What's happening, Reds? Welcome back to another drive time match reaction. This is the upper tier. It's the Shankly sessions for the Liverpool content. If you want to check out the playlist, if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button and drop a like on the video. This is going to be a tough one, Reds, isn't it? That was just a madness yesterday, wasn't it? Scored that goal. What a phenomenal free kick from Dom and stuff like that. And then just a fall asunder like that. And then that coupled with losing Dom and, you know, going to lose him for a game or two now by the looks of things, was just so needless. And, you know, if you listen back on the watch along and stuff like that, there was so much to talk about and stuff like that. But if you can, smash up that like and all and stuff, get that video rallying and stuff, you know. Let's talk about this. So I think we need to break it down today into a couple of things. One, there is the responsibility of the players on the pitch and how you felt about the lineup and stuff like that. And I do really think there's inherent problems in the lineup in terms of how we set up. Like, we're just simply not a 4-2-3-1 team. We're just not. And I think the problem we have is we should be back at the 4-3-3. And I think we have the players to do it. But I don't know what's going on with Slot in his head. And I think that's a real problem as well. And I think part of it is, or how it looks from the outside anyway. You know, Calvin Ramsey is a right back. So he understands the position. He's played the position. He's probably inherently aware of the line and where he should be standing, which really was a big part of the problem in the first goal. Now, not just a big problem of it. I mean, obviously there's other factors as well. Once we had gotten our goal, we dropped back much deeper, and it was like we were trying to protect what we had. And if we're aware of what has happened this season, we're not that team that can protect the lead. Clearly we are not that team that can protect the lead. So why do we do it? Why do we not keep on the front foot? And a lot of what I said on the watch along in that moment leading up to that equaliser was, we're giving them too much room, we're dropping too deep, we should be still trying to play on the front foot. You know, and every time we tried to release the ball, especially when Ali was releasing to Cody Gakpo, he just couldn't control the ball or hold the ball up or do anything like that. And a lot of his play now has become very predictable. And listen, I'm not going in on Cody Gakpo here because there's lots of issues with the team, but I think the protection of him and the lineup at a time where, like, I mean, he hasn't been very good this season. He's definitely struggled from a form point of view. I get the feeling even that he's not really a left winger. I just don't think he is, and I think it's a bit of a struggle. And I think Slot, part of his downfall is going to be sticking with these decisions. And we remember back in the Klopp era as well, you know, putting Jordan Henderson in defence, putting Fabinho in defence, all these kind of stupid decisions, you know, and eventually having to relent because things got so bad. Eventually having to relent and putting in Reece Williams and Nat Phillips, where we put actual central defenders in central defender positions. So they're inherently aware of what their job is and what they're supposed to do. And I think the team is so enshrined in 4-3-3. I think that 4-2-3-1, it just seems a little bit all over the place. Now listen, Gravenberch had a good game yesterday, but he was targeted, so he was smacked up every time he got onto the ball. McAllister had a better showing yesterday. I thought he was much better and much more involved. But I do think this is the issue. I think if we put Calvin Ramsey in right back, and I think if we put Dom in the middle of the field with Gravenberch and with McAllister, we get that bit more balance. Take Cody out of the side. If you want, put Ekitike in the middle, put Wirtz on the left and Salah on the right. I think there's a lot more balance to that side, and I think there's a lot more familiarity to it as well. I think it's a structure and a formation that the players are used to. I think especially playing against a team where we obviously didn't do our notes last week on the Spurs game, because if you notice, when Spurs made that change, when Thomas Frank made that change at half time and he restructured his midfield, they ran through City and probably should have beat City 3-2, but they ran through that City midfield, you know. Instead what we did was we put in a 2 in there with Dom sometimes inverting, but we put in a 2, and like that 2 wasn't capable of overrunning that City midfield. You know, we know that Rodri hasn't been the Rodri of old. You know, we know, you know, the likes of Bernardo Silva, where he has a tenacity and a work rate about him. He's not as good as he has been in terms of the quality. You see the delivery of his ball and stuff like that. But he's always that fox in the box where he'll find that bit of space and stuff. And unfortunately, Dom played him on, and that's part of the fault of this structure and this formation, isn't it? Because not only are you keeping players on the pitch who are out of form like Cody Gakpo, and you're trying to justify the inclusion of them, and you can't justify the inclusion of them on the basis of, well, our bench is light. Our bench is not light for that kind of decision. And then you have that problem, then you're also playing your Crowbar and Dom into a right back position, who's not inherently a right back. He can generally go in and do a job, but when you come up against the bigger teams, they will know that at some stage he's not going to step up the way a Kerkez knows, the way a Van Dijk knows, and the way a Konate knows. So he's always going to be nearly looking to be led in that position in those moments. Now, listen, we're not going to throw shade at Dom, because Dom is by far probably our best player this season, by a country mile. And not only that, we seen an article the other day, he's probably the new captain in waiting when Virgil moves on, I would imagine, if he stays around and all, because that's going to be a problem as well. I don't think a lot of these players are going to have an appetite, and it's a real danger now. I don't think a lot of these players are going to have an appetite for Europa League or Europa Conference. And let that statement land, because that's the real threat now. The real threat now is, what are we? We're 4 points behind Chelsea, we're 5 points behind United. The gap is starting to open up now. Do we look like we're capable of closing the gap more so than they are to kicking on? And the thing about this, and no disrespect to those other two as well, but I'm going to make this statement as well. Arne Slot, the current Premier League champions, could miss out on a top 5 Champions League spot to Michael Carrick and Liam Ross Sr. Now, if we ever needed an indication that change needs to happen, because there's a real problem there at the moment, and I've often talked about the respect we should show to our manager as well. He did win as a Premier League, that's absolutely true, but the danger of missing out on the Champions League next season could set us back 3 or 4 years, because if we're playing Thursday ball, we're going to have a real problem. We are going to have a real problem. And I don't think McAllister, I don't think Konate, whatever's going to happen there, I don't think Isaac, I don't think a lot of these players are going to want to be playing Thursday ball. I don't think that's what they came to Liverpool for. You know, now things haven't worked out. Obviously there's inherent problems in what we did in the summer and stuff like that. Didn't quite get the mix correct in terms of cover and everything else that we needed. And we've had injuries just like other teams as well. But I think if you look at yesterday, and you know, people talk about Calvin Ramsey, is he ready to step up and stuff like that? Well, was Bradley ready to step up? Was Curtis Jones ready to step up when he broke into the side? You know what I mean? Who knows? But you know, we need to stop talking about these people like they're kids. We won a Carabao Cup with basically our under 21s against Chelsea nearly. You know, so we got to look at this, and like, you're never going to know unless you put them into that melting pot. And I know people will turn around and go, oh, I don't think the City game was the one. The City game was exactly the one, because City aren't playing well. City are not in a good place at the moment. Just look at the game yesterday. So, I mean, the reason Arsenal have gotten so far ahead and have been top of the table for so long now is because we've all dropped off so bad. So this is the time to put a boy in and test him. He played in the Palace game in the Carabao Cup, and although we got done in that as well, I think he was one of the better players for us, and was probably the better player for us on the day. But like, you have a right back sitting there on the bench, and you're crowbarring in a midfielder, which disjoints the whole team. And if there was ever a game where you wanted that work rate and tenacity and energy of Dom that he brings, that box to box, that getting stuck in and all, it was against that City midfield, who there's huge questions over, who there's huge confidence issues over, and we didn't do it. In my opinion, we got it wrong. You know, Dom steps up, 74th minute I think it was, whopper of a free kick, as good a free kick as you will see this season. Roberto Carlos shades off it, cut right across the ball to spin it right into the top corner, went in off the post. Not a single player, not a single keeper on this planet is saving that shot. And remember, the guy between the sticks trying to save it is one of the best to do it. So we take the lead, and then instead of staying on the front foot, we kind of dropped off a little bit, backed off a little bit, and this protection of leads at times, can't do it. It's not in us to do it. And I said it on the watch along. I said we're dropping deeper now, we're giving possession up to Man City, you know, we're coughing up space, we're giving them a lot of space in front of goal. You've seen the opportunity that Semenyo had, various opportunities that they had and stuff like that. And I think we were really unlucky as well with the McAllister opportunity. Took a slight deflection and I thought it was going to loop over Donnarumma, and then the look on McAllister's face, he couldn't believe that it had stayed out. I think he was about to run off and celebrate. It was so close. And that could have been a bit of a game changer and stuff like that. I did say on the watch along yesterday as well though, a draw wouldn't help either team. So we suffered the pain of a defeat. The end of the game for me was very weird. I thought the first half kind of ran out tit for tat. There wasn't really a whole lot in it. I think bar probably the Haaland chance, and maybe one other shot from distance, but there wasn't a whole lot in it really between the two. The two kind of teams seemed to look like they were trying to figure each other out for a big second half, and we said there would be a big second half. We came out in the second half, absolutely dominated it, brought the energy, you know, stepped it up a level. City really dropped off and died a little bit, and we've seen there was a stat, and you know, as Liverpool Football Club, we love fixing other teams' stats, don't we? The stat was that City, since the turn of the year, hadn't scored a goal in the Prem, I think, in the second half, and yet we coughed them up 2. You know, the Bernardo Silva one could easily have been avoided. I think if we had went out and pressed them at times a little bit more, I think we gave them too much space to dictate what they wanted to do. I think they took the goal really, really well. And we thought it was offside, and then we looked right down the bottom, and there's Dom playing them onside by about a yard. You know, but again, like, if you're looking along the line, you should know what you're supposed to be doing. You should be up at the line. But again, playing out of position. So partly it's on Dom, partly it's on Slot, because he shouldn't be playing that position. So it's just a weird one at the moment. You know, we're way off the top 5 pace. You know, and you know, we've Sunderland coming up now, I think, on Wednesday. And if they beat us, they go above us. We're level on points with Brentford. They're playing Arsenal. They'll be up for that now. And we're also, I think we're 2 points. Are we 2 points ahead of Everton or something like that? That will tell you how bad the season has gone. Because Everton are not really having a good season. They've had a couple of real good away wins and stuff like that. We're really at the hill tickets, and they've really done nothing compared to what their expectation was. New stadium, let's make this a fortress and stuff like that. And they're 2 points off us, I think. So that'll tell you the problems that we have at the moment. I think we need to go back to a 4-3-3. I think against Sunderland, I think we need to put the boy Calvin Ramsey in. I think we need to put Curtis back into the midfield with the 2 boys. And I think Cody Gakpo has to come out of the team. Verts on the left, Ekitike in the middle, and Salah on the right. And I think we need to find something that's a bit more familiar with us, but something that allows us that 3-man midfield to play in a kind of a triangle kind of pivot, but it allows Gravenberch again to be that 6 that protects the back line. Because I think when you have 2 in there, once teams break the line, you're in on the defence. and then that's when it becomes a little bit nervous and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of things that can be fixed up. I think he has what he needs to fix it up. I think he just doesn't see it, or he doesn't want to take the risk. There's a lot of pressure there at the moment to get results. A lot of pressure. He knows his job is on the line as well, but he's not doing himself any favours. And we've seen this with Klopp as well that season. The light bulb moment goes off. The Arteta be like a light bulb goes off, and then you realise I've no choice. Is Wednesday that day? Will Wednesday be the Calvin Ramsey coming out party? And then will we kick on then for the season? Are we going to be capable of doing it? Because it's just strange at the moment. Everything just seems unfamiliar. The way we play, the way we move. You look at Ekitike yesterday, probably should have had a brace. Verts could have had one or two. Verts was anonymous in the first half, came more alive in the second half. But yeah, a lot to be worked on between now and Wednesday. A loss against Sunderland. I'd probably call it now, and I'd say probably a loss to Sunderland might be the end for Slot. I know we had the round table thing, and I know it sounded like, you know, they're going to stick with it and stuff like that. And maybe they will because of the Champions League. But we're really going to really piss away the opportunity of a top 5 Champions League spot. And we're certainly going to piss away the FA Cup and the Champions League. I just don't think this 4-2-3-1 works for us. I think it just looks unfamiliar to so many players, and I think they're a little bit confused about what's needed. What I did like in the second half was I thought at times we moved the ball really, really well. I thought we were able to open up City to give us unbelievable space. I've never seen City cough up such space to a team. And that's kind of 15-20 minutes up till we scored. I think the pressure that we applied to them was immense. But yeah, we're not in a position at the moment. We're not that team from a mental confidence point of view to see games out. And I think that was really the downfall of us yesterday. You could talk about the decisions. You know, I thought Craig Pawson, first half, I think he reffed the game really well. I think he was letting things go. I think he was trying to let the game flow and stuff like that. Came out second half and decided he wanted to be the superstar of the game again. And this is what happens. You start then booking people for stuff, and you know, you start flashing cards, and then it becomes a difficult situation on players. And you know, the penalty decision for me, sometimes you've seen them given, but I think it's a little bit rough. I think to turn around and say that Allison didn't go to play the ball, I think is a bit rough. I think he got there a bit late, but I don't think his intention was to play the player. He was trying to play the ball. And remember, by the time he had made contact with the player, the ball was practically out of play. So Marmouche, I think it was never getting near that ball anyway. So I don't know how they perceive that as a penalty, because we've seen them in the past, they just go out for a goal kick. So I don't know, but I suppose Ali should have been more on it as well. And the penalty's given, of course, Haaland dispatches it. Wasn't an amazing penalty, bit of power on it and stuff like that. Ali got caught a bit kind of, I think Ali thought he was going to go to the left when it went to the right, because it wasn't miles away from him either. Normally he might have a good chance of saving those, but obviously Haaland just putting his boot through it. That made it 2-1, so that was a rough one. And then just the mayhem at the end, just Alisson going up. You can see why he was going up, and trying to, you know, but then staying up when it broke down. I didn't understand. That was kind of weird, instead of trying to get back. Now I know it all unfolded pretty quickly, and then Dom running back to try and stop it happening, you know, grabbing the player. Then he kind of grabbed the player as well, and he let go, which like if that's a foul and a sending off and you're denying a goal scoring opportunity, then what was the gate he took on Salah? And don't tell me there was a player tracking back, because when Mo Salah's in on goal there, 99% of the time he's going to bury that into the far corner. So let's not turn around and try and say that that defender was going to come back across Mo Salah. Mo Salah would have been gone. Mark Gahey knew exactly what he was doing. So I find that really weird. The other thing I find really weird as well is that they didn't give it as a penalty. I thought that was kind of strange, because if the first tug is defined as a fleeting tug, let's call it that, so it doesn't normally end up in a free kick and stuff like that, is the second tug and the holding on, is that where the incident takes place, and then should it be a penalty? Now listen, some people will come on here in the comments and say, listen, you're clutching. I am clutching, but like, it's just when you've seen it before. If we're trying to interpret the rules of the game have to stand across the pitch. So I don't know, and if that ends up being a penalty and Salah dispatches that, or if Gahey doesn't tug him and he goes on and scores, that's a very different game. We created plenty of chances yesterday, and again, that's our fault that we don't take them. You know, but it's just, I think there's a lot to fix up at the moment, and I think we have the bones and the tools there to fix it. I just don't know whether the gaffer has the bravery to do it. Cody Gakpo needs to be sat down. He's been horrendous, and the fact that he continues with him and players sit on the bench, like, what does Rio Engamoa have to do to get a game? You know, then he brings Chiesa on, and Chiesa probably in 15 minutes did more than what Cody Gakpo did in 75 minutes or whatever it was. So, you know what I mean? If you're looking at that game yesterday, if you want to stick with your 4-2-3-1, you're going to have to put Curtis in right back. Again, a positional issue. But surely at the left top end, surely you're looking at Rio as an option, or Chiesa as an option to start. Surely Cody Gakpo does not start on Wednesday against Sunderland. Cody Gakpo needs to find his form again. He needs to, and this lark of playing players into form. Not in this Liverpool side, not this season. I really think we need to go back to 4-3-3. I'd like to see Calvin Ramsey in at right back for this game. I would have loved to see Dom in midfield, but I think we need to put Curtis Jones in there. And I think on Wednesday we need to be on the front foot, because this Sunderland team will find a way. Look what happened last time. They will find a way. We need to go back to our roots. We need to go back to our basics. We need to go back to what we're familiar with. And we need to start playing players in their goddamn positions. Until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video. This is a tough old journey we're on this season, Reds, but look, we'll keep on going as much as we can, and hope that things change. So yeah, until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. We will have a preview for you for the Sunderland game. Check out the channel, make sure you hit that bell so you get notified when it goes on. Talk to you again real soon. Cheers.